Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it's been a few days since the mini set has come out, and I think it's a good time to talk about our friend Kazakusan, the beloved card. I would say it's pretty liked. The 8 mana 8/8 legendary dragon. If all minions in your deck are dragons, craft a custom deck of treasures. And well, we're going to talk about today if the card's kind of a problem. Is it kind of a problem on ladder? The issues I kind of have with it, and what I could see potentially happening with it or not. And before I even get into it, I want to say I love the card. I think it's really cool, but there are some issues with it that I think are leading to some frustrations on ladder that I think will only get worse as time goes on. So what am I talking about with Kazakusan? I mean, it's when it was initially reviewed by most people, including myself, we thought it wouldn't be that great. 8 mana 8/8, do nothing. How good is that? And the treasures, a lot of them aren't great, but we just didn't think that we'd be consistent enough. However, this card has been so consistent that ladder, at least for me when I'm playing, it's either I'm facing Kazakusan deck or I am facing hyper aggro. It's almost back to being like questline style decks versus aggro, and now it's Kazakusan versus aggro. And basically the issue that I see coming with this deck is the spirit of the card is not really being captured. The spirit of the card is to build a deck purely of dragons, eventually get to 8 mana or get to the late game and play Kazakusan and get some really good, insane value with your treasures. However, the decks that are really taking off on ladder are kind of just not doing this. They're basically abusing the mechanic, whether they don't even run a dragon at all, or they just try and cheat it out. So the most popular deck on ladder at the moment is Kazakusan Druid, which only runs Kazakusan as its minion. It's tutorable with Capture Coldtooth Mine, but the big issue is that you can play it even earlier than like turn 8. You have Lightning Bloom, you have Overgrowth, and you have Guff. You couple all those three things together, you're getting Kazakusan down by turn 4 and 5, kind of defeating the nature and purpose of the card. It just becomes a giant scam card where you get these treasures absurdly early and win the game because, well, you can't really deal with it, especially when you have a treasure like the particular Pyroblast, especially if you have Guff active and you like Solar Eclipse and play the Fireball one or Pyroblast or whatever you want to call it, the Ragnaros Embers or Locust, right? Locust, you get that. There's 2 of them. It's a twin spell. That is 14 damage times 4. It is kind of insane, right? 56 damage that your opponent needs to deal with, plus the 2/2s that are on the board. So it's like a ridiculous amount of damage, and it comes down very, very early before you could ever really strategize against it. The same goes for Priest. Priest is kind of abusing it in a very similar way, where they tutor it out with an Insight, they tutor it out with the Horn of Wrathion, they can cheat it out with Draconic Studies and get it very early. This deck only runs 2 other dragons. It's, it doesn't really capture the essence and the nature of what I feel like this card should be. If you want to compare it to a card, is Archivist Elysiana, which was played very late game, was mostly for value, anti-fatigue, and was such. But it didn't. You wouldn't play this early. You almost never play it early. But Kazakusan gives you broken treasure, so you play it early. Elysiana, before the nerf to discover, you were able to discover class cards at a higher rate before when Elysiana was really good. You would only get class or neutral cards. It was only so good. You could get a bunch of Mega Devastators and maybe a not a Warging Reese or a Chef Nomi, but overall there was nothing that would immediately win the game. And we've even seen this now abused in Warlock, where Warlock just plays the Dark Portal and they play 2 minions. They play 2 whole minions in Kazakusan and Onyxia. And well, when you play the Portal, this becomes 3 mana, this becomes 5 mana. And again, you're cheating them out ridiculously early. And again, it's not really capturing the essence of the card. So my issue, if there is an issue, and again, I'm not saying to nerf the card, to change the card, is that I feel like the spirit and the essence of Kazakusan isn't really being encapsulated on ladder. It's all about cheesing it out really early. The deck that I feel does capture this is the Control Warrior deck. I played this a bit yesterday on stream. I've seen people doing pretty well with it. This is an actual control shell built around removal, and then, you know, you have a bunch of dragons in here. You have a Nixian Drake, you have a Nixian Warder, you have a Raid Boss Anixia, and then you have Kazakusan, which you have no way of cheating out. There's no way of playing it early. There's no way of tutoring it. It's just a control shell that has that late game value bomb in Kazakusan that can help you win the game after you've, you know, mitigated the early threats. You've neutralized the early threats and all of that. This is kind of the deck I would expect to see, or would like to see, a Kazakusan style of deck be. However, there is something very important to note. A lot of these Chi strategies, or basically all of them, are rotating. They are all rotating. If you look at Kazakusan Druid, Lightning Bloom is from Skullman's Academy. Overgrowth is from Ashes of Outland. Those are the biggest abusers that allow you to play Kazakusan early. They allow you to play Guff early, which allows you to ramp earlier. If you're looking at Guff, if you don't have these big mana ramp options, you're Guffing on 5, you're hero powering on 6, and then you're playing Kazakusan on 7. It's a lot more reasonable than being Kazakusan on like 4 and 5, right? So 2 of the big enablers of this strategy will be rotating. However, we don't know what's going to be replaced. If they're going to put in more insane ramp, then yeah, Kazakusan will continue to be a problem. I think if it's just Guff, it's probably reasonable, although you could argue maybe Guff should be nerfed as well. I've heard that argument. I love Guff. I'd hate to see it, but maybe he only gives you an empty mana crystal at some point, or he's 6 mana, whatever. But regardless, that strategy, the main ways of cheating it out early are going, and the same goes with Priest. You have Draconic Studies are rotating and Insight are rotating. You do have the tutor with Horn of Rathian, but again, it's not tutoring, it's not cheating it out. It's not getting it out earlier, so that will be rotating. And again, with Warlock, we have the main card that enables this, the Dark Portal, will also be rotating out of standard. So all these like hyper cheating strategies for Kazakusan are rotating to wild when the rotation occurs. So again, I don't know if you really need to change Kazakusan, but I am hearing the concerns of how people are a little bit frustrated that every game is coming down to that. And I think, again, it'll get worse as time goes on, but we're going to see rotation in like a couple months, like at the very latest 2 months from now. It's going to be early April, right? Early April. We're looking more like in a month and a half. So my honest opinion, instead of changing Kazakusan or nerfing some of these supporting cards, I say just have fun writing the shit out. I find the card fun. I find the treasures to be absurd. A month and a half of Kazakusan Stone, I think, is acceptable, but I'd love to hear the comments below. And if you were to change the card, like, how would you do it? I would change it if all minions in your decks are dragon and you've played 2 dragons or something. Make it so you've had to play a couple of dragons in the game for it to be active. It can't be the first dragon you've played. You at least have had to play 1 more or something like that, right? Make it so the spirit of the deck is somewhat a dragon deck other than just playing Kazakusan. And if you're playing a Dark Portal deck, you'd have to play Raid Boss and Nixia first, then Kazakusan, right? And you're probably winning the game if you're cheating out, by the way. That card's insane. But yeah, if I was to change it, I'd do that. And you could also maybe argue for Embers of Ragnaros or Locust to be removed from the pool. You could do that, I guess. Taking down the lethality of the card, but then again, I feel like it's gonna be really hard to win with the card in that situation, so then you're making it kind of unplayable. So again, it's kind of one of these awkward things. Maybe make Kazakusan 10 mana, but the card's so cool, none of us thought it would see play, and now it's running rampant on ladder, and it's like, it's a Hearthstone card to me. It's ridiculous, it's over the top, it's a little bit tilting that it wins the game automatically, but at least it's a Hearthstone interaction type of deal. I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' take on it, how you're feeling about Kazakusan. I'm on board with it still, even with all these absurd strategies, mainly because they're rotating. If they weren't rotating, I'd have a bigger problem with it, but it also limits design space going forward too, right? If they want to put more mana cheat, more ramp, there's always that issue. So I don't know. I'm on the fence on it. I'm still on the pro Kazakusan train, but let me know what you guys think. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.